All right, it's NFL Combine Week, and Rick Spielman gave a press conference out in Indianapolis, and we're going to talk about some of the main talking points that he brought up, at least the ones that I found interesting anyway, 80% of which I would say I agree with. So we'll start with talking point number one, in which case he referenced the Vikings free agents heading into the offseason, in which case the plan is to meet with the majority of those players' agents. So the key free agents for the Vikings as far as possibly trying to retain heading into the 2020 season: Everson Griffin, he just voided his contract. Trey Waynes, obviously the priority number one is to re-sign Anthony Harris, Mackenzie Alexander. Jaron Kearse, I understand in the grand scheme of things, big picture, he's probably next to last in line, if not last in line. But I tell you what, folks, if this man gets the legit opportunity to start elsewhere, I have no doubt that he'll flourish. This kid has a lot of talent, and I just want to see him succeed personally. I just hate seeing players that have so much talent don't get the opportunity to shine. And I don't think it's the Vikings' fault, because Jaron Kearse, he's not going to start over Anthony Harris or Harrison Smith. I get that, but this kid, he has a lot to offer for whatever team he ends up playing for. You've also got Stephen Weatherly and Eric Wilson. So if you can retain Anthony Harris, I'm good with whatever else happens. So if you're unable to keep any of those other players, so be it. Everson Griffin, I think you've got enough, especially if you can retain Stephen Weatherly with Odenigbo, with Jalen Holmes. I think you have enough on that defensive line to have a good rotation of defensive linemen. And then also, I like Trey Waynes a lot, but I think what's really interesting about him is I wonder what Trey Waynes and his agent think that he's worth on the open market. So I would think that if the Vikings, if they are going to send an offer out to Trey Waynes because you want continuity, he understands Mike Zimmer's defense, I wonder, I would almost bet that they're willing to let him test the open market to see what he could get before sending an offer out to Trey Waynes. Because I tell you what, if he thinks that he's worth, I'm a big fan of Trey Waynes. This dude is a tough-ass football player, one of the toughest players that I've ever seen since I've been following this team for almost 20 years or almost 20 years, ever put on a Vikings uniform, straight up. But if he thinks he's worth $9 or $10 million, I just don't see it. It will be interesting to see how the Vikings free agency plays out in terms of retaining their players. Talking point number two, Rick Spielman praised Kirk Cousins on his development and how he's gotten better as a starting quarterback, as a franchise quarterback. He also brought up how going into 2020, this is going to be the first time, because they've retained Gary Kubiak. This time, he'll still be the assistant head coach, but also he'll be the new offensive coordinator now, calling the plays, of how this will be the first time in Kirk Cousins' career that he'll have the same system in consecutive years. And Kirk Cousins is one of those quarterbacks where there's only so many quarterbacks that can ad-lib their way to wins. Certainly Kirk Cousins is not one of them. So coaching has to be key for a guy like Kirk Cousins. He also referenced debunked the criticism as far as, well, Kirk Cousins, can he win the big games? He talked about the win in Dallas, the comeback win against the Denver Broncos at US Bank Stadium, and the wild card round win against the New Orleans Saints in overtime, that touchdown to Kyle Rudolph that advanced them to the divisional round against the Niners. So Kirk Cousins has gotten better as a quarterback. He also talked about, hey, listen, all business matters. We're going to keep that internal. I think Kirk Cousins, he has gotten better as a quarterback. I criticized him after week 4, just like the mass majority of folks did, whether it's fans or media, but he's certainly toughened up as a football player. Talking point number 3. Rick Spielman raved about Irv Smith Jr. and how we're lucky to have the 2 tight ends that we have. And speaking of which, before I talk about Irv Smith Jr., I want to give a shout out to Kyle fucking Rudolph, because I have criticized Kyle Rudolph for years, not on his ability to catch the ball. We already know that he's been able to do that throughout his career, but blocking, breaking tackles was really trash in Kyle Rudolph's repertoire. But now, especially, the numbers weren't there in 2019, but he's become an all-around complete tight end in the sport of football, whereas each year you play, you decline, your body starts to break down. Kyle Rudolph has somehow aged like fine wine. This man deserves a ton of respect. And going back to Irv Smith Jr., he made quite a few plays as well. A dynamic playmaker. He's basically an explosive wide receiver in the body of a tight end. And that brings me, and I agree with Rick Spielman and his praise on Irv Smith Jr., but that brings me to the point that I've been harping on these last couple of weeks. We need to open up the passing game more, because think about the top 4 receiving weapons you have on this team. Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Kyle Rudolph, Irv Smith Jr. 9 times out of 10, whoever lines up against those 4 players, it's going to be an automatic mismatch. So why are we not attacking that? To have the 3rd fewest pass attempts in the league with these weapons that we have is really quite simply unacceptable. So I hope to see the passing game explode a lot more. Not to say that we should be the Chiefs or anything like that, because if you have Patrick Mahomes, okay, you can do that. I just want to see a more balanced offensive attack, so that way you can have Dalvin Cook explode with the running game and have your receiving weapons. Basically, the defense, they have to pick their poison, just like the 2018 LA Rams. I'm going to get to the Diggs thing last, because I got so much to say on that. The one thing that I want to criticize Rick Spielman on, again, I've criticized Rick Spielman throughout the majority of this podcast, but I have been fair, because Rick Spielman, I thought trading for Sam Bradford in 2016 was the right move. I thought that signing Kirk Cousins in the offseason of 2018 was the right move. He's made great picks. He's made great moves. He's made great draft picks. He's had some great signings. But this man is so smart. This is what's so annoying about Rick Spielman. This man is so smart, almost too smart for his own good, because oftentimes he'll outsmart his own damn self. This dude was asked about the offensive line. And he said about the offensive line, going into year 9 as the Minnesota Vikings general manager, that the offensive line is still a work in progress. Well, no shit. That is just sad to know, because we know that the offensive line, for the majority of Rick Spielman's tenure as GM, if not all of it, the offensive line has always been a problem. So going into year 9, why is it still a work in progress? And it was so frustrating. I talk about how smart Rick Spielman is as a man, as a human being, certainly as a GM. He referenced how you have to win in the trenches. He talked about Kirk Cousins. When he has time, his talent is second to none. Well, why don't you address the fucking offensive line? You know it's important for this dude, but you've just been lazy with it outside of last year. So that's the only thing I have to nitpick on him about. But talking point number 5, we're going to end it with this. Addressing the Stephon Diggs rumors. Oh, what about the trade rumors surrounding Stephon Diggs? Rick Spielman debunked that and said, listen, he's a core player. He's a major part of this offense. There's no reason not to expect Stephon Diggs to be a key member of the Minnesota Vikings in 2020. It just doesn't make sense. And he also talked about on the Diggs trade rumors, quote, no disrespect to your profession, but there are a lot of things that get reported, that get sensationalized, that maybe shouldn't be. And regardless, we're going to handle anything internally. And I'm so glad that Rick Spielman pretty much debunked this whole nonsense. And before I get started, I am so glad that I am an independent podcaster, and I'm not calling out a network. I'm not calling out another podcaster. I am just so allow me to speak freely. Think of how this bullshit started. All the trade rumors and the drama surrounding Stephon Diggs this offseason. Social media activity. Oh, he's tweeting some stuff. He deleted some Instagram photos. We're sitting here bitching and moaning about a grown man's harmless social media activity on some fucking tweets. Receivers are goofy. Who cares? They love attention. Who the hell cares? The Vikings have all the leverage in the world. This is so stupid. Stephon Diggs has never said anything. The Vikings have never said anything. Where is this all stemming from? Oh, he just tweeted something. Let's analyze this and do a whole segment on this. Shut the fuck up. Trading Stephon Diggs and creating this whirlwind and this storm out of nowhere. Trading Stephon Diggs would be the dumbest thing that this organization has ever done since trading Randy Moss. You guys remember trading Randy Moss? Oh, he was a locker room cancer, a diva. Oh my God, the behavior. We can't stand for that in this culture of an organization. Randy Moss was the only reason. Randy Moss is the reason why I'm a fan of the Minnesota Vikings in the first place. Randy Moss is the only reason that the Minnesota Vikings ever won anything in the motherfucking first place, especially with the defense that we had, that sorry-ass defense with dudes like Brian Russell as our safety and Chris Hovan, who I thought was okay, but certainly was nothing to raise hell about, and Dante Culpepper. Don't talk to me about Dante Culpepper. I love Dante Culpepper, but you saw what happened when we traded Randy Moss, and Dante Culpepper had dudes like Travis Taylor and Nate Burleson as his receivers. This dude was trash. 6 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 2-5 record before he got hurt and before he ended up going with, I believe, the Miami Dolphins. Oh, but we need to get rid of Randy Moss, right? We traded this dude, Randy Moss, for Napoleon Harris and a draft pick that turned into Troy Williamson. Are you kidding me? But at least we got rid of that locker room cancer. Oh my God. So now, can we sit here and just stop with this nonsense? Receivers, they are divas. That's just who they are. Who cares? Oh my God, he tweeted out, Stephon Diggs, he just tweeted out something. Haters are always salty. Oh my God, he referenced salt. You know what salt is a key ingredient for? Cheese. You know what that means? He wants to get traded to the Green Bay Packers. Let's talk about this in a 30-minute segment and analyze potential trade packages for the Packers to offer the Vikings in a fair trade scenario for Stephon Diggs. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. It is the offseason. I get it, but this is so stupid. This came out of nowhere. I had to unfollow a dude on Twitter, a key Vikings member, a key Vikings media member that puts out content. I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to put you on blast like that. But just every day, Stephon Diggs, I don't know, man. This behavior is unwarranted. This dude's just tweeting. And don't give me that bullshit about, he skipped practice after week 4 and he was upset. He had every right to be upset. But okay, fine. Let's say that's what you're upset about. After week 4, that loss against the Bears, that embarrassing loss against the Chicago Bears, this dude just wants to win. He gets paid a lot of money, one of the best receivers in the league. Stop being the third fewest pass attempts team in the league. Give him the damn ball. But okay, let's say you're upset with Stephon Diggs because he skipped practice back after week 4. You had no problem cheering for Stephon Diggs week 5 onward through the rest of the season, up until losing to the San Francisco 49ers in the divisional round. But then once the season ended, you had the time and energy to go back, revisit that, and get mad all over again. Shut up. This drama came out of nowhere. It just came out of hot air. And I'm glad that Rick Spielman sat there and laughed at people said, where's this coming from? There is no trade rumors. He's not going anywhere. Now, if they trade Stephon Diggs, all bets are off. I am going to go off on Rick Spielman. But this just needs to stop. Just give him the damn ball. Enough of this bullshit. We do this once a week. Mediocre Best Sports Podcast with Realistic Randy. Check me out on Twitter at realistic_Randy. Facebook at Realistic Randy. Next podcast will be either next Wednesday or Thursday. We'll see you then.